If you think you might be feeling depressed, stressed, anxious, or overwhelmed, BetterHelp, the sponsor of this episode, is here for you. BetterHelp offers a broad range of over 20,000 licensed therapists who are trained to listen and help you. Plus, you can get 10% off your first month with my code, betterhelp.com/Kohler. With BetterHelp, you can talk to your therapist in a private online environment at your convenience, and all you have to do is fill out a questionnaire to help assess your specific needs before getting matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. Then you schedule secure video and phone sessions, plus you can exchange unlimited messages and everything you share is completely confidential. As a mom constantly working around Jaden's toddler schedule, having my weekly therapy online has been a complete game changer and a huge reason why I have made big steps to better my mental health for myself and for my family. You can also request a new therapist anytime at no additional charge. Join the 2 million plus people who have taken charge of their mental health with an experienced BetterHelp therapist. Don't forget to use my code to get that 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/Kohler. That's better, HELP.com/Kohler. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Kohler Commentary. Our next mom is Tesia Choi. I've actually known her as Tesia Cho with her very much better half, Daniela Cho, for such a long time since my freshman year of college. They were both seniors and really took care of me when I first transitioned into UT. And now, years later, we can empathize with one another in our mom lives and be in the same city. And just, even though we don't get to see each other that often, we get to just understand each other from afar. And today she is joining me on the podcast because she just took her two kids, Ezekiel, and Jordan, and they are under 3 now, but they were 2 under 2 for quite a while. She just took them to Korea and then I believe Canada before we officially are recording this. And so I just wanted to get her input on what it's like traveling with, at that time it was 2 under 2, right?
You mean
When you were traveling to Korea, he wasn't
was
3
under 3, but no,
under
he
3.
was 3. Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, 2 under 3.
Same crazy seems crazy to me. I'm excited to just welcome you on, Tesia. It's past bedtimes. I probably feel like our brains are a little fried, but that's when you got to do this stuff. Welcome.
I know, seriously. Thank you so much, Angie. Like, really, I am so honored by that intro. I think for me, when I was trying to think back, how long have I known Angie? And you did say you were a freshman when I was a senior, but it was a shocking kind of intro to each other. I think we were somehow Facebook friends. But then I remember I just like literally just said, hey, anybody out there do a Spanish homework assignment? It's like, can you just write a paragraph? And I didn't even know you, but you just really replied to that status on Facebook saying, oh, I'll meet you at co-op or whatever. And I remember you are the cute girl who wrote about, I think it was the Mavs and how much you love Dirk or something.
Oh my gosh,
And
that
so
feels like light years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember this now.
That, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just hit it off, like you said. So I'm so thankful of our friendship and that now we're doing motherhood together and just seeing you, be this cool boss woman of this podcast and still be able to raise Evan and Jaden so well. I'm just blown away by that. But anyway, thank you so much for even considering me to give you input on our crazy 2 trips.
Yes. No. Yeah. I'm very excited to hear. And speaking of boss women yourself, Tesia has like a million majors and masters, and I don't really know. She is a speech pathologist. And I think even in her transition to motherhood, I'm sure that was like another podcast for itself, but now she has opened up like her own little private practice, Jars of Play. So check it out if you are interested in the services. But yeah, I think it's amazing how we can turn our passions into something even during this most important role as mothers. So yeah, what is your Enneagram, Tesia?
Thank you. I know I need to talk to you about this because I know my Enneagram for sure, but I would like to tap into it a lot more than the, top service layer that I know. But I am a 7 and I think I've kind of dwelled in like different personality tests and all these things. And even on the MBTI, I've always been the same one, which is an ENFP. But I remember there was a psychologist person who came to one of our church retreats asking for us to take this personality test. But before he opened up the floor to do anything, he just passed out all these white blank pages to everybody and asked us to draw whatever came to our mind. And I remember like I just took a pink crayon and I just drew cotton candy. And
Oh
that was
my
my thing.
gosh.
I know. And now I'm learning that cotton candy is like associated to Fred. And I'm like,
Right.
that is so me. And it's just been me for my whole life. So it's
Was
pretty
that kind of like the
interesting.
intent as you thought about drawing cotton candy? Like when you were thinking about it in that moment? Do you know why you drew
I
it?
don't know. I don't know why I drew it.
Yeah.
It might have just been because I like pink. It might have,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I have no idea. But so
Yeah,
I
so
just
for
think,
those
wow,
that
that's kind
haven't
of
heard
interesting.
yet, cotton candy is definitely a literal like correlation to Enneagram sevens and, loving to fill them up with experiences, which is a good thing, but sometimes it might not actually fulfill what you want. So there's like a beautiful analogy to it, but also like the self-awareness portion that I feel like you've
Yes.
definitely tapped into. You have to tap into when you become a mom because you can't do it all
No,
anymore. And then
no, you
briefly,
can't.
what is Thomas's Enneagram? I remember you
Yes.
briefly
So
shared at one point.
Thomas, he's six. I think when we did take the MBTI, we scored similar. Actually, it was the same, and then he changed over the years. But I think when we first met and we started dating, he was more a 6-wing 7, and I was more a 7-wing 6. So we kind of, I think we were
Mm,
pretty similar in a lot of our, but then definitely we're very different. And
mhm.
yeah, even through our marriage life and through parenting, it's apparent that he's a 6 and I'm a
Mm.
7.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, I want to hear more on that later too.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, okay. So for the focus of today, it's y'all's travels. What kind of traveler are
Yes.
you? And this is pre-kids. What would you say is your traveling style in general?
I think as long as I am not sleeping and doing something, I'm okay. So I'm okay to stay up way past whatever bedtime and then wake up even at 4 or 5 a.m. just to like get the day started and get going. That's pre-kids.
And what about, is there planning to making sure you're always doing something, or what did that look like?
No, I'm super spontaneous and I don't actually like to sit down with pen and paper because I feel like I'm almost about to make a commitment to something. So I like to do things
Mm.
as I'm there and like, oh, hey, how about we grab ice cream here? Oh, like, let's do that. That looks fun, but not actually like, we need to do this and this. If it's pretty and it's great, then I just want to do it.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
And then how about once you had kids? Because you have traveled quite a bit with them, I feel like. Together too, or was this one of the first trips as a family?
Actually, this was our first trip as a family of four. We have traveled
Mm.
with Ezekiel, but just as a family of four, this was the first time ever. Um, yeah, but with kids, obviously, it's the exact opposite of everything. And being married to a 6 is
Hmm.
it brings on more
Yeah,
of the polar opposite.
can you share that? One, what is Thomas's traveling style? And then two, what is it like to have to adjust the way you've been used to traveling as you are a parent and you can't necessarily do that style? Maybe you can,
Yeah,
but it sounds like it would be much
right.
harder.
So for me, I think I do all the worrying out loud, but I don't have solutions to those worries. But then
Mm.
Thomas, he doesn't ever like verbalize his concerns, but he just has all these backup plans ready to go. It's kind of like it's when something happens, he's like, "Oh, see, this is why I got this," or
Mm, what
it's
a
a different
six.
style. But I know, right? For me, I thought, you know what, it's gonna be okay. Like the kids are gonna match our schedule. Fall asleep on the stroller. If they're gonna nap, they're gonna nap on the street, kind of thing. But for Thomas, he had to think, okay, we're gonna go here because before we go to B, they need to take a nap at the B&B. And then he just really wanted to make sure that we gave our kids their nap times and their sleep times, which definitely complicated a lot of just our routes and what we initially wanted to do versus what we actually ended up doing. And a lot of the times, or actually every single day of jet lag, and until maybe just days before our travel was over, we both fell asleep at 9 or 9:30 because we were so exhausted. We would
Mm.
just be trying to put the kids down and then we were thinking, okay, let's go do this and that. But we were exhausted. So I mean, that's totally not the way I'm used to traveling. And so when I came back, I felt really resentful of the fact that wow, I was in a different country altogether, like wanting to enjoy the night views and nightlife, but we just ended up sleeping the whole entire time. So yeah, I think sleep
Mm.
was definitely very important. Not for my husband to get sleep, but to just make sure that our kids were able to get that full sleep.
Right. As like partners, like what would you guys say? You're like, oh, this worked. Now moving forward, this is something we would still do. Or now would you guys say sleep for kids is less, not prioritized, but more open to adjustment? Or like what did you notice worked and didn't moving forward as you guys plan to do more trips?
I don't think we've discussed this, but then in
Yeah.
our Canada trip, which is basically a mini international trip,
Right.
we both thought, okay, you know what? They're going to sleep in the strollers if that needs to be the case. And I think Korea really did break the kids in that cycle because they're
Mhm.
now excellent stroller sleepers. In that regard, that's great. I think for Thomas too, he just realized the kids are they kind of do shift to your schedule, although he didn't want to push, different
Right.
aspects, but he did. I think it's a little bit difficult when you have a child who is potty trained and a little bit sensitive. So we had to kind of make sure we went back to the hotel or the Airbnb to make sure that they had their time to poop, during the
Right.
day. So
Right.
in that regard, did I answer the question? I'm sorry, I'm not even sure if I answered your question.
No, no, like that's super helpful to think about. And I know if you want to mention it now or even later, but when I asked you to do the podcast, even like the screen time
Yes.
thing, like you felt like that was some sort of
Yeah.
revelation. So I was curious if you'd want to share at all what that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So for us, it wasn't like we were generous with the screen time with our kids, but we did whenever we went out to restaurants and or
Right,
had
right,
meal times, we can let them watch a couple of shows so that we can have
right.
our friend time and they
Mm-hmm.
could eat their food. But Korea, man, since the flight until we came back home, basically they were on their screens forever. Not much Jordan because she was not the age of really screen, but Ezekiel was totally on his screen forever. And it came to a point, and also the gummies, because gummies and lollipops and all those sweets
Uh-huh.
are so available in Korea because every corner you see is a convenience store. And every
Mhm.
convenience store you walk into, they're enticing Korean gummies. These gummies are delicious. Like they're really good. They're not like
Mhm.
Haribo gummy bears. They're not like these Albanese gummy bears. They're really, really good. So then you walk in
I
and
want
you're like,
them.
we'll just get you. I know you'll like buy them. And it came to a point when we came back home, Ezekiel, because kids are very smart, he would be manipulative of that. Like he wouldn't want to wear even his underwear unless you gave me a gummy, or I don't want to go poop unless you let me see a show. And these things got to a point where we were like, okay, we just have to cut it. So we cut it cold turkey. But it wasn't like if somebody else were to come and say, can my kid watch something? We're not going to be like, no, we're zero screen time. We're okay with that. If a doctor gives him a lollipop, sure, you have a lollipop. But we're trying to teach our kids it's not coming from our hands because we were way too liberal about that in Korea. So we just saw how it just kind of
Right.
came back to us. And
Especially because it's not just like one weekend trip. It's like you were there for a
right.
few weeks. So it becomes a
Yes,
habit. So that's helpful to think
absolutely.
about since
Yeah.
we're going to be there for quite a
Yeah, and
while
actually
too.
in Canada, even though it was a friend's trip and we were worried about having our own time, our kids did really well even like without because they
Hmm.
went without the screen for at least 2 weeks before going to Canada. So they didn't even ask. They just played with their toys.
That's
And
so good.
that's the good thing about kids.
Right, right. They
Very,
can
yeah.
adapt. They are resilient in that.
Yes,
And then when you were
yes.
talking, I remember my question was like, before Korea, would you say that normally all their naps were in cribs for the most part?
Yeah, as cribs or car seats. But
Not
definitely
really
like stroller.
stroller.
Yeah, it would have to be like a really jamming rock during worship time for them to either one of them to go. But it was
Mm-hmm.
really not successful. Now they
Hmm.
can actually go down.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I'm taking like mental notes because I do want to be
Yes.
prepared to have the most fun. So I might like train
Are
them
you
to have
planning on
strollers.
taking like a double stroller or two single strollers
I'm
or
hoping my mom finds something over there because we're
okay,
visiting
yeah.
them. I'm
Right.
hoping
That's
not
so
to
awesome.
take much ourselves.
Okay.
Evan is pretty good at just like falling asleep. He's not good at staying asleep long, but I think he is good at falling asleep. And then,
Okay.
yeah, Jaden, I guess we would probably plan. Yeah, Jaden would be hard, but yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, strollers are kind of lifesavers in Korea, obviously, because you do so much walking. But I think it just depends on like what kind of parents you are. Do you like to do like divide and conquer kind of parents where you do two separate strollers or one stroller, everybody
Right,
can bring
right,
like one
right.
person? But it
Yeah,
was
we only have
nice.
one. We've never had a double stroller because I'm not trying to buy new things.
Yeah, not me
But
too.
yeah, we're definitely more divide and conquer. So that's probably what we'll do there in terms of like
Okay.
being in charge of naps.
Yeah.
Man, all the and
Yeah.
but then there's jet lag, there's time difference. So like what our naps gonna be, who knows?
My thing is
Um,
just never set any expectations
right,
because then you will have greater disappointments. And
right.
that's what I did. I honestly thought we have really great kids. It's going to be
Mm.
a great trip. And then it was not so much that.
I mean, every time you talk
So,
about Korea on your Instagram stories,
yeah.
it's like, oh, like someday, but not today will I ever think about Korea again. So I'm like, oh, interesting. um,
Yes. And
but until then, let's reminisce a little bit about Korea. So can you
yes.
tell us
Yes.
any like maybe the personality of your kids a little bit, and then we'll go into like what you might recommend for certain categories within Korea.
Yeah, for Ezekiel, he's more sensitive. He's fearful of trying newer things, I think. So he's
Okay.
always by my side and always by dad's side, but he is also a curious toddler. So ready to kind of go to new things. So we just had to make sure we had eyes on him and also communicate because he's a very good communicator. And that was pretty much it. I think if we had just traveled with him, it would have been an easy travel.
Right.
For Jordan at that time, so he was 2 and 10 months at that travel time. For Jordan, she was 16 months, not yet a year and a half. And when they're that young, every month makes a big difference.
Yeah.
But she was at like the screeching, screaming stage. And so we were not okay on the plane. She slept for the first 4 hours, which is so great because I thought our meal came out. Like, look at her, the angel baby, the chill baby who just makes everything wonderful. But then, of course, she wakes up, and then for the whole 10 entire hours, she wants somebody standing and like rocking her.
Oh
So
no.
it was, and I think we think hindsight that she may have been sick, but it wasn't like she was on Tylenol or anything. Which, by the way, if I mean people have been recommending like baby Benadryl on the plane, but we didn't take it, and Korea doesn't sell it. So if you want to take it, you take it from here. But
Great tip.
anyway,
Okay.
yes, because we wanted to get some for the way back, but it was they don't have anything like that.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, they have like regular seasonal allergy stuff and all this other stuff. But yeah, so then she was screaming the whole entire time, and Thomas got indigestion from the plane because he was so uncomfortable that everybody in the bag were. It was just, and our flight attendant was so sweet. She kept on bringing him anti-nausea meds, but nothing helped. And he
Yeah,
was pretty much,
indigestion is the
yeah,
worst, and then you can't.
yeah,
Oh my
nausea.
goodness,
And
yeah.
then Jordan at that phase was going through only dad phase. So if I would hold her, she would be
Mm.
screaming. So Ezekiel's sleeping and we were fine. But yeah, at the time it was really difficult.
I
Yeah.
saw that Thomas booked hotels the days before and after the trip.
Yes, yes.
Was
I
that
was
a
actually
good
going to tell you
thing?
about that.
And
That was
that,
a really good thing.
yeah, because I'm
Yes,
thinking like
that
if
was,
that was the start of your trip, I would already feel
we
like
were
tapped
so
out.
overwhelmed. Yeah,
So
we
I'm
were
ho
very overwhelmed.
Yeah, so you can talk about that more a little later, but I'm realizing like that's a good like worst case scenario
Yes,
type of mentality. I'm like,
because
dang,
he's a
like
six. Yes.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh, I would not have thought about that, but yeah.
Mm-mm, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, so then knowing a little bit more about what stages they are both in or were in at that time,
yeah.
what was I guess like maybe even the themes or goals of your trip as a family to Korea, and what would you recommend? So first we can start with like eating places, 1 to 2 places that you would recommend eating
Yeah,
in.
so I think eating places, I don't have like I was trying to do one thinking, but because we weren't looking for like matjips or like great
Mm.
places to go to, we were just trying to look for a place that was spacious enough for us to go in with a stroller and have high chairs. Because actually Korea is as pretty and amazing all their restaurants and everything are. A lot of them still have like the floor seating or no high
Oh,
chairs,
okay.
things
Oh,
like that. So you're lucky to find high chairs if you go. I think a lot of the times we were holding one baby each while we were
right.
eating. It's a little bit
Okay.
crazy, but if
Uh-huh.
you have family, obviously there's a lot more help. So I don't think I have like recommendations as like you should go eat here, but I do
Uh-huh.
think that Korea in general have well, the currency rate is great right now, but their tejigalbi, so like their pork ribs and like barbecue marinated meat was really good for our toddler.
Mm,
So he
mm.
ate so much everywhere he went. And like barbecue is just like everywhere in Korea. So I would say barbecue is a really easy eat because you just cut the meat and give them white rice and then they'll eat it.
Right, right.
That was good.
Okay.
Other than that, I mean, everything else is, I say it's pretty much the same as Dallas because I didn't look for, again, like popular places to go eat.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
What about, did you guys go to kid cafes? And if so, do you have any recommendations for that?
I think kids cafes actually are now becoming a thing again because prior to April, even I think a lot of the ones that had existed shut down because of COVID or they went out of business. So all the ones that
Um,
we were looking at, they were either out of business or closed. So we didn't get to look into a lot, but a couple of my friends sent us kind of like, you should go here. So we tried it out. Of course, we went to Lotte World, which is like the amusement park, and their share of kid stuff. So I think you can go. I think as a family of four, we paid around $90. And then we, took cute pictures, but Look, the world is lots of people. So you just
yeah.
adults don't get to do anything. So I think for the price that we paid for admission, you don't really get a lot out of it, except maybe the kids get their experience, but it's an overwhelming, overstimulating kind of experience. So
Mm.
we went on a weekday on a not like, I think we went like at 10 a.m. on a weekday. But for me, I'm so used to wanting to stand in line and like ride a ride myself. I felt, oh, I can't even do that right now because
Oh,
I'm a mom.
wow. Oh, yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
we, like
Yeah.
obviously if you go with family members who can watch your kids, then maybe you can try. But I think that if it's just for the kids, like, I don't know, for us, like $90 for that was a little steep. I was like,
Okay.
oh, there's a
I feel
ball
like
pit,
that's
there's a
something
bumper
you
car,
can
there's
buy in America almost for that kind of
yeah,
price. Which
yeah,
like I would
yeah,
expect
yeah.
it
So look
may be a
there.
little better in Korea, like pricing.
Yes,
So that's
yes.
good to
But
know.
there's a place called Atlantis, and this one I think I've seen on a lot of like Instagram things. This is in a city called Songdo, which is pretty close to Incheon Airport. So if you ever have time, that place, I think admission was maybe like 75, $70, something like that. There's a lot more like pretend play, ball pit. There's like the boat ride and little robot driving, fighting bumper cars, and all these different things for
Oh,
Jaden's age. So I feel
yeah.
like that would be probably better. Of course, nothing for the adults, but there's still a cafeteria, a nursing room, and different things. So that is something you could probably check out. And then one more, I didn't go here, which I feel like I really would want to have gone, but it's a place called the Champion
I've
Black
heard of
Belt
that.
Series.
Yeah.
Yes, you
The
have.
Champion
And I,
Black Belt series. Is that what you just said?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I said. And I think there's lots of locations apparently, but one of my friends that I saw on Instagram, she went to the Seoul Times Square one, and oh my goodness, it looks amazing. There's just like
Mm.
a lot of sensory play stuff, a lot of, just jumping, trampoline, a lot of motor movement kind of thing.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I definitely have to put that one on the list. I've
yes,
heard and I've
yes.
heard good things from like someone that lives there right now. It's like, yeah,
Oh, good,
locals kind of in a
good.
sense. So,
Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
next time when you go, maybe they won't be at that
Yes.
age. It sounds like you'll probably never go when it's the time.
I know, right? I know.
Anything else within like kid friendly kids cafes or museums?
Yeah, we did not brave any museums because we were in the scream stage of Jordan. So we just thought,
Yeah, and that's
why?
like a quieter time,
Yes,
or quieter
yes.
place. Okay.
But I think even just walking Korea, there's just like so much to see.
And you guys went
Um,
in the spring, like the
it was
best.
such good weather. Yes.
Yeah.
But when are you going?
September. I feel like it
Oh,
will
it'll
be
be
the
good weather.
tail end of the monsoon stuff, but I don't think we'll hit the
Yeah.
rain.
Okay, I'm so glad because I almost thought you were going in the summer, and I'm like, why isn't she going when there's so many
No.
mosquitoes and humidity?
We
Like,
would go in the summer because my sister's going. So help, right, for kids. I would definitely
right.
consider that. But
Yeah.
summer is like twice as expensive. And since it's a family,
Oh,
I don't think that would be
yeah.
worth it for us financially.
Oh, but the humidity and the mosquitoes, I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I don't
That,
know why it's so, I mean, because people are off, but it's so popular
yeah,
on like the worst.
right.
Okay, what about weekend trips or any like day trips elsewhere?
I we did not factor that in because we actually were busy going into Seoul, and then we went back to my mother-in-law's hometown.
Okay.
So that was in Asan, and that was me. I think by bus it's 2.5. By train it was 40 minutes. But just doing that for us was visiting the countryside. So that was like
Yeah.
enough of a change.
Yeah.
But it was amazing countryside too. By the way, that's where
Oh,
all
I
of our
think I
hip bun
saw, I
comes
think,
from.
oh,
Yeah,
really?
the rice, yes,
Yeah, the
Asan. Yes.
microwavable. Oh,
Yes,
because
yes.
I remember seeing your kids playing on like streams in that area.
Yeah,
Right,
yes,
right.
yes,
I
that
feel like a
area. So
countryside area would be really nice to introduce to the
it was
kids.
very much like the whole cottage. It was for me, it was shocking because I've never really been to the countryside either, but it was nice. Yes, for
Oh, okay. So
sure.
you got to do
Yeah.
something new and
Yeah.
pretty.
Everything was so new because I've never been to Korea without my parents. And for my
Mm.
husband too, it was probably been 16 years since he had last been back ever since.
Oh,
So this
wow.
trip was
Okay.
planned because he got his citizenship, and so
Right.
finally he was able to go back. But yeah, it was new all around for both of us.
Okay. Did you guys feel like
Yeah.
you were able to, or I know, I feel like you kind of shared where you are with the trip overall. What about Thomas, since it was his first time in forever? Is he on the same page as you? Let's not go again for a
I'm
long time.
like maybe, but he says absolutely not, and that's because he did
Mm.
everything. He literally did everything. So he says no, no way.
Okay, okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah,
Aw,
yeah.
good job, Thomas. What about other things then in Korea? Are there any other places you would recommend? Or like something I haven't put into the category for my last interviews were centered on skincare. I feel like that's really big, but since I'm not really into skincare, I feel like I forgot to include that. I don't know. Are there any things like even you
I
as
am
a
so sad, Angie, because I'm
you
glad you
didn't
mentioned
get
it because
to?
there's a lot of like Olive Young, right? Like Olive Young is
Yeah.
kind of like the Ulta or the Sephora of, Korea, and it's like everywhere. Our B&B was right across the street from the Olive Young. So I kept on thinking, okay, I'll put the kids to bed. I'll go. Did I go? Like
You
not
never
once. I'm
got to
so and
go.
that's also because it's everywhere that you just keep thinking, I'll go on this day, I'll go.
Hmm.
Because that's definitely one place you cannot go with the kids because they're so reachy grabby for everything. But they have a lot of samples out and you just don't want to be like, hey, don't touch that. Hey, and so you
Yeah.
have to go kind of alone. But it's great that you have help and you have family there because obviously you'll go, you'll explore. And I feel like definitely Korean skincare is so, so good. And so yeah, you come back and you're like, oh, I don't want to try anything else. So I'm kind of in the stage where I'm not doing any skincare. And I'm like, it's because I
Mm.
didn't go in Korea. But yeah, I think you should go. Definitely go and get yourself,
Yeah. I think,
recommendations.
yeah. Oh, they recommend stuff to you and things
Yeah,
like,
they do. They like tell you.
oh, okay. Cause I was about to
Yeah.
like, I don't think that's on my list, but I mean, if they tell you stuff, then that would be very helpful. I sound
Yeah,
very,
I think there are.
yeah. And then they can tell like
Yeah.
just from like looking at your skin or like your face in a sense.
I think it's kind of like the people who help you at Sephora, they're kind of looking like for your skin tone, but I don't think they'll be able to tell you like if you're allergic to like HCLs,
Oh,
like
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
you would have to know that for yourself, but I think they'll have like, oh, this is pretty popular these days kind of thing.
Mm. And then
Hmm.
your sister, for those of you who might not know, your twin sister, she's in Korea again right now for
Yes.
2 months.
Yes, 2 months. She has a month left.
Do you feel not like not jealous, but are you like, oh, because she gets to live the Korea experience, maybe you want to? I don't know, because I know she's in this countryside or she's not in Seoul, right? Or it sounds
Right.
like.
She goes to Seoul every weekend. So
Okay.
that's when I'm like, hey, can you buy this for me? Put it on my tab. And she's like, no, it's a gift. And I'm like,
Mm.
stop saying it's a gift because I'm going to ask you for so much more. But,
So you know you're gonna
but
get what you need, even though you couldn't be there yourself
yes,
in a
I am
sense.
asking for it, but you want that experience. Like,
Yeah.
Korea, the Baskin Robbins there is just to die for. And I don't know if you've heard of that, but
Mm.
every flavor in Baskin Robbins is so amazing. But did I get to go? I did not. So I'm so sad. So to go
Oh
to
my
Baskin Robbins, I
gosh.
know. I'm so sad.
Oh yes, I think I just saw Danielle's story, her basket.
Yes,
I was
I
like, I feel like I
know.
just saw it and it was beautiful, and that's right.
You have to try their
Uh,
matcha green tea is so good.
okay, okay. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
gonna have to figure out all of like what I want to do and then how to do the kids. But
Yes.
okay, any tips while traveling to and from Korea?
Yeah, I think that when we were trying to pack, everybody kept on telling us pack light because there's nothing Korea doesn't have and you can just buy it there. But honestly, if you have a laundry machine, just take all the clothes because Korea kids' clothes tend to be more expensive, I think.
Oh,
And
really?
and even if they weren't, like, why would you buy a new set of clothes when they're growing out of it so fast, right? I think the tip that I have for clothes for Korea is that they have amazing kids' underwear and amazing pajamas. So if you like
Oh, okay.
need to buy PJs, then sure, go for it. That's what I kind of splurged on. But then regular outfits, they're so cute, but also a little bit more pricey. Like you can get
Mm,
good pair of pants, shorts, shirts from Carter's or from Target, like for $4 on sale. But there, I think their sale would be like I don't know, like 10, 15. So I would say just pack what they have and take a set of a weekly clothes so that you can just laundry, wash it, and then, let them wear. Diapers, they do have, but they only have at their actual markets. We thought that the convenience stores would have it, but they don't have it. So I mean, your parents are there, so I'm sure they'll help you out with like diapers and supplies and
maybe
things like
stocking
that.
up in
But
advance. That's good to know. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Another thing, tip wise, I don't know. Are you taking Korean Air or are you taking American Air?
No, I
Okay.
know we're
I
taking
hope you are.
American on the way back. American
Okay, I
Airlines
do
on the way
wish that
back.
you would take American both ways if you are trying to do one of those inflatables. I know there are lots of brands, but one of my friends gave us the flyaway baby to actually like take on flight because it's so helpful for the toddlers because it basically inflates into like a little bed. But Korean Air, they have not passed their clearance on that, so they don't allow it. But American Air, everybody who flies there, they use it really well. And I know
Mm,
14 hours may not be a lot, but for the toddlers who want to sleep, it's so
yeah.
helpful. So,
Okay. Okay. That's a good
yeah,
thought. I'll double check that.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And then you get to purchase Wi-Fi for $35 and you get
And
to
then
stay
watch
connected.
everything.
So, yes.
That's right. Because if I download movies, does it
Oh,
change
I mean, not
over?
only just movies, because I feel like movies they already have on the screens there and you
Oh,
get
right,
to
right,
watch
right, right.
plenty. But I mean, I'm just like, if you want to stay sane and contact your sister or like,
Uh, uh,
just
uh.
not lose touch with the people on the ground,
Mm-hmm,
I just feel
mm-hmm.
that's, yes,
That's good to know.
keeps your
Wait, is it
sanity.
35 per person?
I think so. I think that's what Danny told me.
That's expensive per
It
person.
is, but sanity wise, if you think it, you're like, it's a little bit worth it. I needed someone to complain to because everybody is
Mm,
asleep on the flight. And, I guess pressure does something to you when the lights are off. And normally you can go hours without sleep. You want to sleep, but you cannot sleep because of your child. And so
right,
you
right,
need
right,
some kind of, but you also can't have headphones and like watching a movie when your child is like,
right.
needy. And so it's just a lot of,
Uh, and then can you tell me a little bit more about what y'all did in terms of the hotel thing each way?
Yes, yes. So Thomas was basically his number one thing was after we get off of this really, really bad flight, because he knew we were going to have a bad flight. He just said we need to have a place to just wash the kids and put them to bed instead of go drive 2 hours or close to 2 hours with all the traffic into Seoul. Um, so I was like, why would you do that? I mean, we have family, like we don't need to really waste extra money. And he's just like, no, I promise it's going to be worth it. So he actually got a hotel right next to the Incheon airport. And initially, that was like the only time we were going to be next to the Incheon airport, but we loved it so much that we actually booked another stay right before the day of flying
Mm,
out. So, because not only was the hotel really nice and I think well priced for the amenities, but it was so good to just have like time on our own, like without having to meet with people. And I thought I literally booked my trip. I'm gonna meet you, meet you, meet you. And I think I had a client call from Korea and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna do my business call in Korea or I can meet you up. And I'm just thinking these things. Little did I know that I couldn't meet with all the people, couldn't meet with Sarah and Justin and Tori. I couldn't even meet with like,
oh, yeah.
yeah, I know. I couldn't meet with anybody. And I think the little that we met were with just family. And yeah, so a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of
I
like
think I saw
my
your story of someone like literally just dropping off stuff to you. Like
yes,
that's
because
how
we couldn't
crazy it
meet
was.
with people. Yeah.
Oh, no.
But because it was like kind of packed, we just thought, okay, you know what? We just need time for ourselves. And Thomas really wanted that retreat because he likes to
Mm,
have time just with family. So we did
mm,
that. And it was really nice because you didn't have to struggle through a long car ride right before another flight back home, but just rest up in the hotel and then wake up and then go right away. So depending on what time your flight is
right.
and what time you have to get to the airport, that could be an option. I think that was
Okay.
a really good option for us, and especially because there's a lot to do around the Incheon
I
airport
might
as
ask
well.
you for the hotel name later.
Yes, 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 yes.
That's
Yeah,
a
there's
that's
a
a
lot
really
to
good
do.
tip. I would never think
Yeah,
like that. I'd be like,
I
what?
know, same.
Yeah, that's like I'm
And
like,
that
oh,
is my favorite memory. So now I'm
oh,
like, if we ever
yay.
do Korea again, we really need to do it because, yeah, it's just something that relaxes you right before you go into change and then pulls you out of that right before you go back home. So
So
it's
that's like the
nice.
reset y'all definitely
Yes.
needed. Would you
Yes, it
say
was a
that's
good.
Thomas's favorite memory, you think?
I think so, because I mean, he opened up a card under that hotel so he can continue to rack up points in the future for that hotel. We had to stay in that hotel at Vancouver. It was, yeah,
Oh,
Thomas
okay,
is,
okay.
he's very
Wow.
much a hotel, let me just rest kind of guy.
That's so interesting. Because I
Yes.
kind of think my other six friend is kind of like that. I wonder if that's like not
Yeah.
like an overall thing, but maybe kind of like a
Yeah.
habit. That's a really good idea,
Yes.
though. Do you feel like you guys were on the same, like, were y'all snapping at each other? Because it sounds like it was a hard trip. How was y'all's dynamic through it?
Um, I think it was so hard that we couldn't even think at the moment that it was
Mm.
going to get any better. It was just so hard. That's all I remember. It was so hard. And I don't know if you saw my Instagram post, but it's sensitive, I know, but like to me, I related my Korea trip to my pregnancy because my pregnancy was so hard 2 times and I
Oh,
had
yes, I think
back-to-back
I remember.
pregnancies. And and both of the times I had hyperemesis gravidarum. And so I was literally throwing up from the beginning to the end. So I saw no hope from the beginning. So for me, I loved my pregnancy and the fact that I was definitely like, you know, growing a child within me. But then I also did not have a love relationship because it was so, so hard. So for me, like Korea, I
Mhm.
loved it in a sense that it was obviously not my hometown, but I mean, my, what do you call it? Just my
Mother.
parents.
Mhm.
Yeah, like my, and so I loved it. I wanted to explore more and everything, but I would never be able to recommend it to any friend that I care for. Like I wouldn't be, hey, like, but the only reason I say go and bless you is because your parents are there. So
No,
obviously, like,
honestly, I think
go.
when I
Yeah.
told you I was going, you were like, "Are you sure, Unji? Are you sure you want to go?" I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
Uh,
I would never, especially at this age, I just would never do it. No, it's just,
right, right. Yeah, I mean, I'm not
yeah,
necessarily want like if I could choose, I wouldn't go at this age
right.
either. But since my parents
Yeah.
are there for only about a year, maybe two, and they miss
Okay.
the grandkids, it is
Yes, of
definitely a trip
course.
for them to see their grandkids.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I think this is real talk of just like the
Yeah.
reality of what that trip would have been like. And so, if people are going, it's just helpful to be aware or put little hotel nights in between to refresh. And if you're able to like make that happen, then that's a good
Yeah.
idea. And like that would be
Yes.
an investment worth thinking about long term.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Okay, what about your hardest memory? Or
I think it was definitely transportation. I know you think that everything was hard. Yes, it was, but we ended up like taking a taxi everywhere, and initially that was not our plan, but
Mm.
just trying to find elevators on different subway levels, and it was just really stressful. And with kids, like you have to, or we took a double stroller, so we had to be on either end of the stroller to basically shuttle them down the stairs and up the stairs. It was really hard.
Oh, I think I saw
Bus
this.
rides, yeah, and then even like bus rides, like you just have to know which route, but if you're not a local, it's kind of
Mm.
hard to be standing there in the middle of the street thinking, which number do I have to take? Which one is it going to? So again, if you're traveling with your parents and they already have all this down, then I think transportation and all that is not going to be hard. But for us, I think it was the issue of we did not take a car seat. And Korea, I know, has now legalized putting your children into car seats, but then a lot of people still just take their kids on their laps for taxi rides. And so we did that, but it was not easy at this age to like keep them seated. And
Yeah. And I
so
feel
it's
like
just a hard
The
memory.
Korea driving is scary, isn't it? Like, or
It
like
is.
they're
It's
crazy, no?
yeah, it's crazy, it's scary, but you kind of get used to it. It's weird.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then what about culture in general? Like, as you just lived there for a few weeks, is there anything you noticed, especially for Thomas too? It's been his first time in such a long time. Anything like new or something you learned?
Right. I think that we definitely notice, and you can tell even by the way kids are, the kids are basically babies too. They're like on a throne in Korea. So, and there are
Mm,
not that many of them because, I don't know if you've heard the population is
yeah.
decreasing for the kids, but their behavior is probably not as disciplined as Americans would discipline their kids. So you do see a lot more acting out and a lot of parents just catering to their
Oh.
needs. And so I had to constantly explain to Ezekiel, oh, that's not what we do, but I guess they're doing it, kind of like talking him through it. And
Oh,
then
that's interesting. For some
also,
reason, I
yeah,
wouldn't have expected that. I don't know why.
no, they're very,
Oh.
very like, you get what you want, you can scream. You do.
Which is why
Maybe
the
not like
convenience stores have
everybody.
candy everywhere. Yeah.
Yes, I
Okay.
mean, yeah, it's like Darla in Finding Nemo. It's like that.
Oh, okay.
And they're
Mm.
also dressed to the nines, and their strollers are to the nines too. And it's like every child. And I think the culture that I'm kind of shocked and a little bit disappointed in, and I guess I kind of see why this would happen, is just that there is a lot of like judgment on your appearance.
Right,
So
right.
as Americans, we just like put a t-shirt on and, whatever, like sports pant, like, whatever. But I think in Korea, it really matters what you wear, what brand, and things like that. And you can just tell because they do like glance at you from top to bottom and when you're in an elevator and they're like all, and
Mm.
I don't even know brand names, but the funny story that I share with this, we went to Shinsegae Mall because we were looking for Kids Cafe and we just
Right.
heard that there was a Kids Cafe at the very top floor of Shinsegae. So we went up, we took the elevator, and even in the elevator, people were looking at us because our kids, we're so used to taking them out of naps in their PJs in the stroller, pop them in and go. But obviously,
Mm-hmm.
kids are dressed in matching hat, matching socks, like matching everything. They're like really
Oh
nice
my
dressed. But
God.
anyway, so we're sticking out already as it is. And we go up and we like press the door because they're automatic doors, but you press to enter. So we press to enter, and the person at the desk, she's looking at us and she's like, this is membership only Kids Cafe. And so we're like, oh, okay, do you have any like day passes? And they're like, oh, and you have to know how to speak English to get in. And I was like, I didn't even think about like arguing with them to say, hey, I'm from America. I just like, okay, that's okay. And I just turned around and we left. And we realized it's probably because the way we look and we're like
That's
shabby. And
hilarious.
yeah, but the thing is everywhere. And so that's why you know that
Yeah.
like the dupes, like everywhere, there's so like there are lots of fake dupes and lots of things, but people try to live up to like the Joneses and match like all
Right.
these. So it's
Wow.
just that it's a very toxic. And a lot of the times when you purchase anything, they'll ask you a question whenever you pay with your credit card. They're always going to ask you this one question, which is, are you going to divide it? Are you going to do an installment plan or is it in full? But you're like, I just ate at a restaurant. Like, wouldn't you just pay in full? But to like, I think the culture, like everybody does installment plans for like everything because they want to buy such like bigger things that I don't know, like why would you ask a like
Yeah.
you know?
Whoa. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
I was just saying I feel like Korea is the very like stereotypical Enneagram 3. Like I feel like there's
that's
different
funny.
but like maybe the unhealthy parts of a 3,
Yeah,
the image,
yeah,
right? And so because even like when I
absolutely.
take twos and threes within like the Korean community are very high, but actually in general statistics, those aren't one of the higher Enneagram types
Oh, very
normally. But
interesting.
yeah, like I just find it interesting, like that mindset is passed down, not in the same way, because I'm not saying all
Yeah,
twos and threes are like that. But
right,
you know, when
right.
you think about it and you see where our culture stems from and certain things like
Yeah,
that, it's kind of like it makes sense in a way, even though it sounds like shocking that that would happen, that you can't go to a kids cafe, like you know, like
yeah,
they
I
would
know.
make certain like
It was
pretend.
embarrassing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
at the same, I
sorry.
think
That's
I thought
dumb.
about it deeply because of that incident and
Mm-hmm.
just going around. And I think I came to my own version of an answer, but I don't know if it's like the true
Right,
answer, like
right.
the answer. But as I was traveling to Korea as a child, I would always think like, oh my gosh, like everyone's Korean. Like you look around and everyone's Korean. And that's what always basically shocked me. But then now I think I realized when I was at the hotel and I saw the janitor, and usually I like to strike conversations with everybody, but then I realized like even the janitor or just any workers in general, they're all Korean. In my eyes, they're all Korean. But here in America, I feel like the even though we don't really have like class systems, like we can already know like the minorities are going to work certain jobs. In Korea, there's not that kind of distinctive like which Korean is going to be working which. So I think to make
Mm-hmm.
themselves stand out, they do like a lot of these like brand names and all these things like deck out because you are of the upper class, rich, you know, versus like the working class. I don't know. So it's just like that is a very big thing in Korea,
It
like
just
what
like
you wear, what
that
you hold.
impression was so big on you for you to like even think of what could
Yeah,
it be? Like what could those things
yeah,
be
like
because
what
of
you
that? Yeah.
carry, what you wear. Yeah,
Right. Mm.
like your appearance defines you, kind of thing.
Yeah. Dang.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I'm excited to see what I'll learn. I feel like I'll be confirmed in some of the things I've been hearing from people who have gone already. But
right.
but yeah. Anything else you want to share about the trip? I feel like you gave such a real, real talk.
I'm so glad you have your parents there. I think it's going to be so amazing. Really, they love you more than they love I mean, your children, obviously. So you'll be so well taken care of. That's the part that I'm happy for because, I
Mm.
mean, they love their grandkids, but you come first. So,
Uh-huh. My mom's listening
yes.
to this. She agrees, right, Amma? What would, if you could describe this trip in a fruit, what would it be?
I thought of
Hmm.
that, and I think it would be a ripe persimmon. And that's my favorite fruit, actually. Like,
Okay.
there are different kinds of persimmons. There's
Right.
like a tangam, a gokgam, and a hongshigam. But a
Yeah.
hongshigam is like a super ripe version of the persimmon, or maybe a different one altogether. But anyway, I think that it's so delicious that even though you know that there will not be a chance that you won't make a mess out of it, you still go back to it, and then
I like
at the end
that.
of the
Uh-huh.
day, you'll get messy. It's going to be so messy because the skin, the flesh of the skin, like the
Right.
fruit is very like, it kind of feels like a tomato skin, but
Yeah.
then it's
Yeah.
super like once you pop it, it just opens and it
Hmm.
bleeds the flesh, but it's so good. And then, you just go back to it. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's Korea for me. Like, I missed it so much that I would dream about it and like dream of going to Olive Young and places that I couldn't go to. But then I'd wake up and think like, oh no, like I don't think I can do that again. Like that's not okay.
I like the description,
But
it bleeds like flesh. But then
yes.
I feel like
Yeah,
that would
kind of.
accurately describe how you felt, but then yeah, overall, it's the sweetest
Yes. Yes,
experience.
yes. Yeah.
Well, I
So
hope whenever you do
definitely.
go, it'll be a season of readiness and
Thank
you
you.
guys will have a lot more fun at that time.
Yeah, yeah. And so now everything else, every traveling just seems like a baby travel. So that's good. When you come
Mm,
back from
because
Korea,
you had such a good
you are
time
going
in
to.
Canada, right?
Yes, we did. Yeah. So when you come and conquer this trip, you are going to be a warrior traveler
You'd be
and
like,
you can
what? I
basically
can go
go
there.
anywhere.
Okay.
Yep, yep, yep. That's going to
Okay.
happen.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, we just have to climb this mountain and then, yeah, on to the next.
Yeah. I cannot wait till you post stories and
Laugh at
yeah.
me. Say,
Yeah.
haha, she's joining the misery. She
I was
didn't know
gonna
what
say
I
I'll
meant till
console
now.
you.
Yeah, when I vent, I'll be with my $35 Wi-Fi on the
Yes.
plane. I will give you a text at that time. Okay.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, thank you so much for using your free time after the kids are down to talk to me about your trip and give me some pointers or our audience
Thank you.
members. Hopefully, you guys are not scared from booking your trip as well, but just, have some realistic expectations in mind so that you can have the best trip possible. If you have very little littles, or maybe 4 to 8 sounds like a good range too.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Well, okay, Tessia, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Color Commentary.
Bye.
Bye.